All right. Welcome to another episode of the Intellectual Idiot Show. We have a very special guest on today, as Tyler is in Singapore and Michael is in Colorado. We're not going to get into the lack of dedication to the podcast, but I'll tell you what, you want to talk about a big guy that steps up to the plate when his number is called. Ben Moreau, welcome to the show, big dog.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course, of course. So we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, there's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, more lows than highs to this Packers season. But the knife has been put through our guts. It's over. And whether you want to look at that in a positive way or you want to look at that in a negative connotation, either way, it's done. So the Lions put an end to our season in a win and get in game. At home, you win 4 straight. All you got to do is beat the Detroit Lions at home, at Lambeau, in the cold to get into the playoffs. And we choked. We choked to epic proportions. And I got to tell you, I can say with almost 110% certainty that Aaron Rodgers just played his last game at Lambeau Field.
100% agree. 100%.
What are we thinking about everything here, Ben, with Rodgers? What was that? What was that? Make sense of it.
Dude, there's just so much to unpack from this season. I mean, I was just listening to ESPN today even, and they were just kind of making some very valid points. Marcus Spears, if you watch his take on Get Up, he was kind of talking, and man, like I think it just started from the season, from the get-go. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers missing OTAs, missing like valuable time working with these young wide receivers, you know? So I think it starts there. And he made a good point of it took basically half a season for him to have any kind of rapport with them, any kind of relationship, you know, to be on the same page. So that first half of the season, you know, especially after that London game when we went on that 5-game losing streak, like we had no relationship with those players. Like Rodgers had no relationship with those wide receivers. He had nothing established whatsoever. So you kind of dug ourselves in the grave just from the get-go. But as of late, to address your question, sorry to divert, but it was typical Packers football.
Oh,
I mean, it was
God,
typical
yes.
Packers football. It was like the 49ers game from last year, you know, all this hype of home field advantage in the frozen tundra. Like, that's a myth now. Like, that is no longer.
Teams are not afraid to play at Lambeau Field.
Aaron Rodgers and top tier Packer teams with no problem. So, there's just a lot, and I don't know.
So, one thing that I wanted to do today is I got up my handy dandy stats sheet here, and I want to read something off for you. Just give me 30 seconds here. So I just want to read something off for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go all the way back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. Philadelphia, November 27th. 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Chicago, 182 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Los Angeles Rams, 229, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Miami, 238, 1 touchdown, another interception. Minnesota, 159, 1 touchdown. Detroit, 200, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Overall, a season with a 91 quarterback rating, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Now, those last 6 weeks that I just read, maybe I'm a lunatic, but we paid this man $50 million a year to average 200 yards in the air, a touchdown and a pick.
Yeah.
This is, people are talking about it a lot, yes, but people aren't talking about it enough. This is horrible. That is horrible. Yeah. You would think you paid a guy $50 million a year to be better than Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
By these stats, Ryan Tannehill should be getting $50 million a year.
I know. No, I completely agree, man. This is
Jordan Love could have done that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I think Jordan Love could have put up those stats in those games.
No, I completely agree. And what does he do? 60 million next year, I think, too. I think he's due 60 next year. Something like 50 to 60 next year, somewhere along that range. And like you can definitely see the tail end of his career. Like he's on the back nine. He's on hole 17 going to 18, if not 18 going. See you later.
To the 19th hole.
To the 19th.
He's fucking done.
He's done.
That's what he is.
He's done. So, and I read a stat today too, actually. So Brett Favre, his final game as a Packer, he went, I forget what it was. His final few plays, he had 12-yard final drive of the game. He threw for 12 yards, and he threw the game-ending interception. Aaron Rodgers, his final drive of his career, he threw for 12 yards and had a game-ending interception. So that is
gave you major Giants vibes, didn't it? That Giants game, NFC Championship game, it gave you major vibes.
Major vibes. So I think it's just kind of like almost like a storybook ending, just ending the same way that his predecessor ended, and kind of, I think it's just, I'm interested to see 10, 15 years from now. I feel like there's going to be some 30 for 30 out about the dynasty that never was. And it's going to be the Green Bay Packers highlighting Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, only 2 Super Bowl wins in 30-plus years of experience. 2 quarterbacks. Heck, the Chicago Bears go through 2 quarterbacks in 2 weeks. We had 2 quarterbacks in 30-plus years. And we had 2 Super Bowls to show for that.
It's remarkable. And I think more than anything, and so many people get into the, Aaron Rodgers hasn't won a big game in a decade, or, Aaron Rodgers hasn't won a big game since the Super Bowl. And yes, I mean, maybe some of that is true, but I think we also have to be honest with ourselves here. The Packers front office has been an absolute train wreck for since the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I mean, the year of the Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers had a number 1 defense.
Right.
Tom Brady has 6 Super Bowls, and every single one of those years he's had a top 5 defense. Right. So, maybe a couple of those years sprinkled in the last 12 years, we've had a top 10, maybe. Yeah. I mean, Rodgers hasn't had a lot of help over his career, but the excuses are wearing thin for Aaron now. I mean, since McCarthy's been gone, Aaron Rodgers has had plenty of weapons on offense, on defense, on special teams. Well, special teams not last year, but he's had plenty of, ammo. Right. And the last 3 years, I can almost put the blame on Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Fourth quarters of the last 3 seasons, you get Tampa Bay at home in the NFC Championship game. Right. That is a winnable football game. The next year, you get San Francisco, who had a very down year, and they're coming from San Fran into Lambeau in one of the coldest games recorded at Lambeau Field. And again, you put up 1 touchdown. Yeah. And then you end 2022 with another horrendous performance against the Lions. I mean, he looks like a different quarterback. You are getting paid $50 million a year. You haven't done anything all year. There has not been one game. The Cowboys game is the only game that he threw for 3 touchdowns. He hasn't done anything all year. He hasn't risen above and beyond one game all year. And the one game we need him is Detroit Lions at home winning it.
And to your point, too, if you think about it, I know you're a big fan of the Pat McAfee show. You kind of follow what he says on there, too. But I feel like, especially early in the year, he was so quick to point fingers. He was so quick to be like, hey, these receivers are young. They're not running the right routes. I can't trust them. I can't throw them the ball. And so, I get it. Devontae, Jordy, you've had these relationships with these receivers in the past. But at some point, man, you just got to let it throw. You got to let it rip and you got to trust them sooner rather than later because your season relies on it. But he was so quick to put the blame and not on himself. And to your point to that San Fran game, I think they replayed that last drive of that San Fran game. I'm not sure if you remember, but they showed Alan Lazard, and he was doing a 20-yard drag or something like that, and he was wide open. It was a 4th down play, wide open to seal to get a first down. They're fairly close to getting into field goal range. And he was so locked in on Devontae because he, let's face it, has trust issues. Has massive trust issues. And instead of just reading the play and like dealing with what the play was given him, he forced it, and the game was end. The season was ended. So I think a lot of it is stubbornness. I think a lot of it is him set in his ways. I think Rodgers is very stubborn, very stubborn. I think he thinks he knows all, and he's a very, very intelligent, very cerebral person. He is a very smart individual, but I think also in the same breath, also very narcissistic.
Oh, I 100% agree. And going off of the points that you just made, I feel like the game has evolved past Aaron Rodgers. Like, I feel like the game is moving in a different direction. I think Devontae Adams covered up a lot of flaws on this team. Yeah. And he did. I mean, and he's the best receiver in football for a reason. Right. He covered up a lot of flaws with this offense. Mm-hmm. But I will say this. You look at the new up-and-coming quarterbacks in this league, right? Mm-hmm. Patrick Mahomes. You look at Joe Burrow. You look at Justin Herbert. You look at Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts. You look at these young guys, right? They're spreading the ball all over the field. They're moving in the pocket. Mm-hmm. They're building up their teammates. Yep. They are engaged in the game. They are running up and down the sideline. They're just winners. Mm-hmm. They're just winners. Right. Joe Burrow is a winner. Right. Justin Herbert is a winner.
Yeah.
Josh Allen is a winner. Mm-hmm. These guys, like, they have the relationship with their teammates.
Yeah.
The way they carry themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much different than the way Aaron Rodgers carries himself. Oh, yeah. And the game's evolving to this, dude.
Oh, right.
Like, these guys are passing up Aaron Rodgers. These guys are putting the work in the offseason. These guys they're not spending their time in their free time going on the Pat McAfee show and drinking scotch.
Right.
These guys are getting yoked. Mm-hmm. They're getting straight up after it. They're getting in the weight room. They're getting out extra time with their receivers. They are putting in the extra work, and it's showing. Mm-hmm. These guys are just like, I'm envious of it.
Yeah.
Because what do I feel every game? All I'm seeing is Aaron Rodgers going, yelling at his guys, throwing temper tantrums up and down the field. It's just like, you're not seeing Joe Burrow do that. You're not seeing Josh Allen do that. You're not seeing Patrick Mahomes do that.
No.
Leading these players in today's day and age, athletes in today's day and age, is not the same as it was 15 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's a terrible image. I feel like every commercial break they panned Aaron Rodgers, and there's some sort of F-bomb, expletive, just some visible form of frustration with, let's face it, his receivers or his offensive line. It's never him. He's always, yelling at someone or doing something like that. But I totally agree how this game has totally evolved, and these players are like, these quarterbacks especially are just more immersed in the culture, and I think Aaron Rodgers is just totally just excluding himself, kind of, doing his own thing, showing up to the game and going home and, like you said, having a glass of scotch and living his life. Apparently now dating the Bucks owner's daughter or something like that. So I don't know. Just
What a disaster. I mean, this guy's
just got a lot going on, man. Like, I don't know what's going on, but like, and to your point too, though, like, I feel like the NFL is just going in a whole different direction in terms of quarterback play too. Look at every good quarterback. They're running for almost 100 yards a game. Jalen Hurts is running for 100 yards a game. Joe Burrow's a great scrambler. Herbert's a great scrambler. Mahomes is a great scrambler. Fields has like almost like 1,000 yards rushing this year as a quarterback. Like, today's NFL is going towards that dual threat quarterback. And let's face it, Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old. He does not have the legs he once had. Can he scramble once in a while and get a first down? Yeah, he can. But he doesn't have that escapability from the pocket that he used to have. Like, he's not that magician in the pocket anymore. He's an old man, let's just face it. And I think we've seen him play his last game in the Green Bay Packers. I mean, will he retire? I'm not sure. That's the big question. I think he's done in a Packer uniform. Will he retire or will he get traded? I think is the next question.
That's what I wanted to get to. So what happens now? We got Aaron Rodgers is getting $60 million next year, whether he fucking retires, whether he gets traded. It doesn't matter. The Packers they're giving him the money. They chose to sign Aaron Rodgers to a 4-year, $50 million a year deal. Right. Most of that's paid up front, but still, it doesn't matter. Like, we still owe him that money.
Right.
What you are, Ben, you are Goody.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I know that's an insult to you because I know you hate Goody. What are you doing right now as BBG, Big Bad Goot, with Rodgers?
What would I do? Well, if I was Goot, I think I'm planning for the future right now. And I think it's an important thing to note too, before I answer your question, that Jordan Love had an interview with someone, like a reporter, and he basically said everything, like did everything but exactly say it. But he is likely going to request a trade if Rodgers is the quarterback next year. So that's in the back of my mind if I'm Brian Gutekunst. Like, hey, this guy's been sitting for 3 years. He's he's itching to play. He's almost done with his rookie contract, and he hasn't even set foot as a starter, basically. So with that in mind, and with the short sample size we saw, I mean, obviously the Chiefs last year was kind of a train wreck, but the short sample size from the Eagles game this year, it was very promising. Like, this guy can throw the rock. Like, he's good, So instantly I'm thinking, let's think towards the future. Aaron Rodgers isn't getting any better. He's only going to get worse. I think that's an important thing to note. So if I'm Goody, I am trading Rodgers and getting a boatload of picks, first-round picks. I think the Colts are a great option for him. I mean, Jets, like, there are a lot of options for him.
Tennessee.
There are some big-name markets who are going to pay they're going to take that money on without any hesitation.
Las Vegas.
There's a lot of teams that will take that money. So I think you rebuild, man. Like, I think we use that money. I think the draft has not worked that well. Let's be honest. Like, the draft, like, there have been a few picks, Quay Walker, besides the, shoving the medical trainers, like, has done pretty well.
Besides the mental breakdowns and ejections, he's had a good year.
Right.
Wyatt has shown a lot of promise when he's been in the games.
Wyatt, exactly. So, and to my point of Dean Lowry leaving being one of the best things that happened for this defense the end of the season. So I think Dean Lowry was a placeholder. I don't think he's a long-term answer. I think Devontae Wyatt showed that he can rise to be that third defensive lineman. But to answer my question, your question, I think you trade Rodgers, you get a boatload of capital for him. I think you build that team. You bring in established players, young players, 24, 25-year-old players who have proven to be good in this league. Build that defense. Maybe we need another wide receiver. I think we have to pay attention to if Rodgers leaves, Cobbie's going to leave, Mercedes Lewis is going to leave. I mean, there's going to be like a ripple effect, I think, if Rodgers leaves. So we got to fill a bunch of voids. So
all the old guys that should have been done already are going to leave with Aaron Rodgers.
Right. And hey, man, pay attention. I think Michael Mayer, man, Notre Dame, I'm repping him right now. Michael Mayer in the draft, man. I would
hell yeah, baby.
Good. And
hell yeah.
Coming to, because Bob Tanyan's, I think, going to be gone potentially unless they sign him. So
Alan Lazard's for sure going to be gone. Did you hear Lazard's interview?
What did he say?
Post game, he was like, it's just kind of funny. I played my first game at Lambeau against the Lions, and I played my last game at Lambeau against the Lions.
Oh wow. He
said that post game. He's like, I'm for sure gone. He said.
Really? Yeah. So
okay.
I think the writing's on the wall that there's going to be a mass exodus at the end of the season. So, it'll be interesting. I think it's going to take a few years. I don't think we're going to be great next year. I think it's unrealistic. If Rodgers does go, I think it's unrealistic to think we'll be great next year. But, I mean, I think coming back to your Tom Brady point, though, Tom Brady was getting paid $20-ish million a year as a quarterback, as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Rodgers is getting paid $50 million a year. But when you surround your team with good talent, look at Brock Purdy. You don't need this amazing, stud quarterback. You just need a good facilitator. And if you have an amazing team like a CMC and a George Kittle and a stout defense around you, you can go far, man. You can go far. Look at Geno Smith. He's got a good team around him. He's doing really well. So I think we just got to just load this team with talent because I think there's a big deprivation of talent on this team.
I honestly, I can make a point too to say I really don't think the Packers are very far away. I mean, I think that they're a couple pieces away from really being competitive, and I really am looking forward to seeing what what happens with Christian Watson and Jordan Love. I think is going to be an absolutely dynamic duo.
Yeah.
The future with Dobbs, Watson, and Love, I think is very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
If we could sign a young, explosive tight end, I think that would be incredible for this team. Our defense has a boatload of talent. I mean, I think if we got a little bit of an upgrade from the defensive coordinator spot, then maybe we could be a little bit more productive with our defense as well. But our defense our man Jimmy Leonard, baby.
Leonard.
But you did like what you saw from the defense the last month and a half of the season. I did like what I saw from the defense. They were playing a lot more press coverage. It took Joe Barry a little time to figure that out. It took him a whole year to figure it out, basically. But
I appreciate how they let Jair just blanket Justin Jefferson and the best receivers the second half of the season, especially after that first game when Justin Jefferson went for 200 plus yards. I appreciate how they let him just trail the best receiver all game, which it should have been like that forever. But
100%.
I'm glad they adjusted and made that change for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be an exciting offseason. I personally think Rodgers is going to retire.
Yeah,
the way it's so theatrical. Yeah. Like Aaron Rodgers is so predictable. It's like, dude, he totally talked to Cobb, and he's like, win or lose, we're walking out together before the game. He talked to me like, after the game, we're walking out together, holding each other's heads and arms and touching each other's butts and shooing off the camera. I'm like, Aaron, you've literally loved the camera your whole career.
Yeah, and telling Jameson Williams no, I'm going to keep this jersey.
It's just so
to the drama.
It's just he loves it. He loves it. He loves people talking about him. He loves the drama. He loves to stir the pot. He loves to hold the Packers to the fire. But it's funny because now the Packers can hold him right back to the fire,
right?
And just say dude, listen, Goody's got this is the pivotal. This offseason is Goody's pivotal offseason. This is the one.
I agree.
You have to say right now. You have to have stones, and you have to tell them we're moving on.
Right.
Rip off the Band-Aid.
Right.
Rip it off.
Yeah.
You know he's done. You got to move on.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose Love.
Yeah.
That's the guy. That's your guy.
Yeah.
That's your trademark trade. you traded up for Jordan Love. Fucking play him. You got it. You got to do it now. Now is the time.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for this offseason. I'm almost more excited for this offseason.
I am.
Than I would be if the Packers were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I truthfully am so excited for this offseason.
I know. I'm honestly so excited because it's going to be so chill around Green Bay. I feel like every other week there's some Aaron Rodgers highlight. You know what I mean? Especially the COVID year, the COVID toe, the vaccination status, all that stuff. It's going to be pin drops or, you know what I mean? Like church mice in Lambeau on 1265 Lombardi because it's going to be no drama. Everyone's going to be gone. It's just going to be Jordan Love. They're going to be like, yeah, we don't have no idea what this guy's got, but hey, we'll see what happens. Jordan's kind of one of the dudes. He's young. He's hanging out with all of them. He's going to, Jordan Love's going to be in there in the offseason working with those guys. He's itching to get out there. He's itching to prove that they didn't make a mistake drafting him.
Yeah.
So,
and what I also saw in that Eagle. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Benny.
No, I was going to say Spotlight is kind of off that. If Rodgers leaves, Spotlight follows him where he goes. Green Bay is just going to be kind of quiet. There's going to be questions. What does Jordan Love have? Things like that. But I feel like it's just going to be everyone's going to have a sigh of relief essentially because there's just this huge tension that's in the air. You can cut it with a knife. That's how bad it is. I feel like there's so much tension around Rodgers, and everyone's kind of we don't want to upset him. We don't want anything to we don't want him to get, frustrated or pissed off or anything like that. So when he's gone, everyone's I think there's a lot of people who are not a big fan of him in the organization, but they've kind of kept their mouth shut. And I think people are just going to be way more comfortable, way more chill when he's gone. So I'm excited.
Well, nobody wants to be the guy to get executed because they spoke out against Rodgers. So I would say I'm excited. I think showing them that Eagles game too, you almost saw a little bit of when Love came in, there was a different type of energy.
Yeah.
There was a different feel to the game. It was just guys were hyped for him. It was interesting. So we're going to wrap it up, but what a great episode. And I will say Aaron Rodgers, like, if you ever listen to this podcast, I want you to know my overwhelming amount of disappointment in you personally and in the Packers organization for losing a winning game to the Detroit Lions. And truthfully, I hope that that's how you end your career, is losing a winning get-in game against the Detroit Lions. And I'll leave you with that. But it's funny. It is funny. Last thing I'll say, I've come full circle. I mean, I've adored Aaron Rodgers my whole career, his whole career. I've adored him.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I've reached the point where I'm finally done. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I can't watch him. I'd rather have Deshaun Kaiser at this point.
He's burned a lot of bridges, man. A lot of bridges. I think his true colors have kind of come out in the past few years. And I think people are finally seeing he's not the person they thought he was.
It's all the
ayahuasca, dude.
It's just got him on a different planet.
He's just tripping, dude. He's just on a whole different universe. He's not even here right now, man.
He's seeing ghosts.
Dude, he's a zen, man. He's just loving life. Taking where the wind goes, It
didn't look like he was loving life in the Lions. I'll tell you that. All right, that's all we got. Ben, thanks for joining us today. That's another episode of the Intellectual Idiot Show. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to the Intellectual Idiot Show. That is all we got today, and talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.